San Bernardino. But if it was in LA or in San Diego, it'd be $3,500 a month. Yeah, $3,500. Chris Jordan said, I'm 17 years old. What life advice would you give us teenagers? Well, I think I should probably make a video. That sounds like a good idea for my next video. Hi YouTubers, this is Gil. Today is April 26th, 2019, and the time right now it's 12:42. So on this video, I'm gonna talk about what advice that I would give you youngsters as of today, as an 80s dad. So one of you requested this, and I'm gonna put the name on the video there. So anyway, you requested what advice that we people from the 80s can give, but I think the type of advice that me who lived during the 80s would be about the same. It would be the same type of advice that we would give today, 2019. So I have my list here, right here. I spent like a whole day thinking about all the things that I could include in this subject here. And all these things, it's everything, the first things that came out of my mind about what advice I can give you guys as a 48-year-old. I'm 48 years old as of today, and I'll be 49 in August of this year. So I think I'm old enough to be able to give you guys some advice, some of you youngsters, teenagers, some advice about all this is based on my experience. Basically, it's mostly my experience, all the things that I've been through and my experience. And then some of this, of course, some of this comes from when, like mistakes that I made, like certain mistakes. But now to understand that this video is going to be mostly talking about general life. It's not going to talk about things like, like studying for a job or you should study. It's nothing like that. It's only general life, like how to interact with people and and what my advice about interacting with the general world, things like that. I mean, it's nothing to do with, you know, like how to advance in your, it's nothing to do with that. I mean, this video is only going to talk about general life, you know, interacting with people and things like that. You know, how this video is only going to talk about mostly things like that. The first thing that came to my mind yesterday about an advice that I can give you teenagers is that you guys should a good advice would be like to know in advance how to run everything manually, or how to run your life manually. Like, for an example, like get yourself familiarized with how to do everything manually, like mailing letters, like if you have to, like sometimes you have to mail bills, or you should get familiarized with that and things like manually, like for example, you know, I could give you one good example of why this advice is good, is very useful for you guys. One good example is like what happens like if you're in the middle of, like in a suburban area where there's no cell phone towers, or what if your phone dies, your battery dies in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of suburb, or anywhere, just anywhere actually. I mean, it could be a city, anywhere. Your phone might die, or you might lose your phone. And so, right there, in an instant, you're living in the 80s, pretty much. If you lost your phone for the day, you're living in the 80s for the rest of the day. I'll tell you that much. So if you lost your phone, this is where my advice for you guys to know in advance, to learn to do everything manually comes in. You know, like say you lost your phone and you need to know which way to go. Like you're trying to find a place and you want to know how to do it, but you don't have your phone for your Google Maps. So perhaps you could, for that example, you'll have to know what to do this manually. Like you could go to a gas station and buy a map. Well, I don't really think they do those anymore. Or you could just ask around. That's doing things manually. They ask around for directions or something. That's doing things manually. That's an example. And other examples of doing things manually, like, I mean, it's like, yeah, hang on. Of course, other things of examples of doing things manually is like if you don't have internet one day and you want to, go to a store or something, or you want to buy something, perhaps you'll have to drive around town, you know, like you'll have to get used to that, you know, driving around town. I mean, like to find that specific item that you're looking for, and you have to kind of like face the fact that, you know, there are some items that you'll have to settle without being able to get as long as you don't have internet. Like, let's say, you know, let's hope things like this won't ever happen, where the internet shuts off entirely and nobody has access to internet, you know, for the next month or something. You know, like just think about how you could live, how you'd be able to manage life. You know, like to go think in advance on how would you do it. How would you go manually, about doing everything manually? So that's my advice to you. That's one advice that I would give you guys, to kind of get yourself ready to do things manually at any moment's time, especially like one day you're like like at Vegas or whatever, anywhere, and you lose your phone, or your battery dies and you're in the middle of nowhere. That's when you're gonna need to know to do everything manually. That's when you're gonna need to be able to do everything manually. Okay. Okay, advice number 2. One advice that I can give you teenagers is, try to refrain from idolizing anything, like your car, for an example, especially cars. Try to refrain from doing that, because when you're when your car or whatever you have, when that's all in your mind, if that's all that's in your mind, your car or whatever else that you have, and when it gets too far into your mind, like when it would sometimes, you don't want to let it get too far, or you don't want to get too much into it, because that's gonna cause trouble. It's gonna cause trouble in a lot of ways, more ways than one. And one of those ways is like, your mind is gonna, you're gonna have so much anxiety about it. You're gonna have so much unnecessary anxiety about this thing that you're idolizing. And then every little thing is gonna bother you about that item that you're idolizing. Like, so this example is my Mazda. Like, back in my day, I have a video posted up about my 1984 Mazda that got stolen. Like when I was so into that, I got so into that car. I tell you, I was way too much into that car, and then eventually it got stolen. And then, look what happened. Being so much into that car, and it got stolen. So, you don't want to be too much into your car or anything. It could be anything, even little things, you don't want to be too much into anything. That it could probably even be yourself, You don't want to be like too much into yourself either, because anything can happen, like anything can happen that's gonna, that can really deface your situation, Like my car, for instance, I loved my car to death, and then it got stolen, or like anything can happen that can suddenly make a change on your, on how you think of things, or it can make you hate life when something happens to something that you really idolize. So, I would say that, my advice is to try to refrain from excessive idolizing of stuff. Yeah, go ahead. You can idolize. It's fine. There's nothing like it. You're okay to idolize, but just don't do it in excess. Don't do it to where your life has been taken over by this car. Yeah, try to refrain from doing that. I would say just to try to just kick back, or just like just how we take it easy. Just kick back and just take it easy on the idolizing of your car or other items like that. So advice number 3 is, I would say, advice number 3, be happy with what you already have. It's like whatever that you have right now as a teenager, anything, whatever that you have that you like or that makes you happy. Be happy with what you already have. It's like, my advice is like to be happy with what you have and just kind of like stick with it. If it's gonna take a lot of work, or if it's gonna create a lot of stress or anything in order to get to where you want, or to have the things that you want, I would say kind of like refrain for now, and just wait till it comes to you eventually. Just while you're at it, just be happy with what you have. For an example, your car. Like the car that I'm talking about. You have a car that you like. You like it, but it's just so. But you want some other car. Let's say that you have a a fast sports car. Let's say that you have a two-door cool sports car, but in reality you want a badass Camaro or Challenger or something. And then when it comes to talking about that, like unless you have the money for it, and unless it's not going to cause any stress, or unless it's not going to kill you in any way. Like, for an example, like if you wanted this badass Camaro or Challenger, Dodge Challenger or whatever, and this car costs like $30,000 or $40,000, if you have the money for it, then yeah, go ahead, great. I mean, that's really good on you right there. But I would say that if you're in a situation that you want a car like that, for that example, if you're in a situation like that and your job is only a minimum wage job, and you're putting yourself a lot of stress because you're trying to save the money to get that car, or you're trying to do whatever you can to get into that car or whatever, I would say, I mean, my advice is just to kind of like kick back on that part, because I mean, you don't want to put yourself into too much stress right now. I mean, you don't want to put unnecessary stress on yourself, doing like putting that all in your mind, like where it's all in your mind, trying to save up for that car, or do whatever, or anything, it could be anything, anything else, I would say just be happy with that two-door sports car that you currently have. Maybe fix it up a little bit, I mean, until you're able to, have the money to buy it. And this is just example. It's only an example that I'm posting, I mean, that's just an example. It could be anything else, like being happy, like where you live, for an example. Be happy with where you're at right now. If you don't have the money to buy the place that you really want to be in, or if the area that you want to live in is really expensive, that you really like, but it's really expensive and it would kind of like kill your finances, just be happy with what you got right now. I mean, for now, until you can do it, until you're able to do it without killing yourself, That's my advice. That's advice number 3 that I can give. Okay, advice number 4 that I could give. One big thing I could say, a good advice I could give you right now as a teenager: live life one day at a time. You just live life one day at a time. And I would really advise, and it would be a very advisable thing. Live life one day at a time. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say that you racked up your credit cards to say you owe whatever amount of money, and then you're working and you have this thing about wanting to pay off your credit card as soon as possible, right? Well, that's the key word, soon as possible. A lot of us think that way. A lot of us like to do that. Do this or do that as soon as possible, and then as a result, all of that is in our mind for all that time. For the rest of the time, it's in our mind. It's all that's in our mind, like paying off that credit card as soon as possible. My advice about that is just live one day at a time and try not to think too much about that, and just live your life. Like today's. Let's say today's Monday. You go to your job, you do your normal thing, and then on your breaks, you have your meal, and you have your great tasting meal, and then you go home, and then you just have fun with your kids, and you just do the things that you'd like to do. I mean, without thinking of anything else. That's living one day at a time. But for some of us who have this thing about, for the example that I put out, is being in a hurry to paying off a credit card, for an example, some of us is that's all that's in our minds for some of us. Like, we work through a day, and then all we're thinking in our mind that, well, you know what? I'm thinking that next week when I get paid, I'm gonna put $500 into this credit, and then all day long you're thinking this. Okay, next month I'm gonna have $500. I'm gonna have $1,000. I'm gonna pay that off next month, and then still you go on to your next day, and you're still thinking about it in your mind. Okay, 2 months from now I'm gonna pay another $500. I'm gonna pay another $600, and I could do this. I could pay $700 on this month. I mean, I would say kind of like, I mean, you should just forget about thinking about that. I mean, it's really advisable that you don't need to do that, you know. I mean, just kick back and just, instead of thinking about like being in a hurry and how you're gonna pay off your credit card or whatever, or how are you gonna get your car, anything. Like next month, you're thinking, like on the third day of your work, you're thinking, okay, you know, after I pay off this credit card, I want to get the car, this and that. I mean, I would say, it's a good idea that you just kick back and just try not to think too much in your mind about things like that. And just instead of thinking that I'm going to pay $500 to pay this credit, instead of that, you just say, you know what? Today, I want to go play ball with my kids today. Today, you know what? I think I want to, instead of thinking about paying off your credit cards, you just say, I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? I'm going to clean up my garage today. Or I feel like I want to ride my bike today. Or I feel like I want to try something different with this new video camera I just got. Or I want to try this new drone that I just got. I want to try this drone, or that type of thing. Like, at the end of the day, you just think about one day at a time, you know, like, instead of thinking a months ahead, instead of thinking about what you want to do months ahead, you think about what's today. Just you don't need to think about what's going to happen in a month. You just think about what's going to happen today. Live one day at a time, you know. I mean, that's the big advice I have to give. So that was advice number 4. Okay, advice number 5. I would say a pretty big one right here, and this can save you a lot of money and a lot of headache. This can save you a lot. I mean, don't buy in out of impulse. I mean, one advice I would give you teenagers, don't buy anything out of impulse, especially if it's an expensive item like a car, especially a car, or especially like any other expensive item, even like phones, or any expensive item. Never buy those out of impulse. Like you go, like one day you see someone with this or that, or one day it's some advertisement, or it's something came up on the internet and you saw this really cool item, and all of a sudden you want it, and then all of a sudden you're looking on Craigslist or whatever, or you're looking at car dealerships or whatever, or anything, like to go check out those things that you just saw that you thought was really cool, like a car, like a specific type of car, type of car, like let's say a sports car, like a Camaro, or a sports car, two-door sports car, let's say. Now, the problem with all this impulse is like one day, you might like it one day. Like one day you just suddenly like something because you saw it on the internet and you thought this the sports car was really cool and it's red or whatever. You thought this sports car was badass, and then all of a sudden you're wanting it, and then next thing you know, you went out to the dealer and you bought that sports car or anything else, out of impulse. And this was all out of impulse, let's say. This is the example. So now it happened, right? So for some of us who something like that happened, now, And then a lot of times, so many times, and it's almost guaranteed that, I mean, something that you had bought out of impulse or out of something that suddenly you liked for that one day, it's almost guaranteed that you're gonna regret doing that. Because why I say that, it's because you didn't give enough of your time. You didn't give yourself enough time to think about whether you really want that car or not, or anything else. You didn't give yourself time to think if you really need it or if you really want it. I mean, and then it can get even more expensive. That it can even be more expensive, like in the coming months after you had bought something out of impulse. It could be anything, you know. Like, let's say, I mean, you bought a car, this cool ass sports car or something, and then later on, like 2 months later, your wife is pregnant now. You know, your wife is pregnant, or you have a, I mean, or anything, you know, like now you're gonna want a 4-door car. So I mean, that's where it starts to get expensive, you know, like on any impulse buying that you do. So I would say make sure that when you're looking at things, you just don't let the impulse get to you. Don't try to make sure, if it's something that you never felt that you wanted or that you never felt you needed before, don't do it yet. You gotta wait. You gotta make sure that it's something that you really want first. You gotta wait. You gotta wait around, you know. So that's my big advice about impulse buying. Now that's a big advice I give you 17-year-olds or any of you teenagers. Don't buy anything out of impulse. It's best to wait it out to make sure. Just wait till you really, not on the day that you first saw it and you want it. Don't buy something out of the first day of seeing it. Yeah, just be sure. I mean, that's my big advice that I have to give you on that part. So now, advice number 6. I mean, this is the interesting kind of advice that I would give, and this is through experience. And I would say, I mean, like, one advice that I can give you teenagers, like some of those certain items that you already have, or any like items that you have that's really popular right now. The very popular items, it could be toys or anything, you know, anything that you have that's a trend right now. Any items that you have that's a trend right now, I would advise that you hold on to those items. You know, it's neat to hold on to those items and don't sell them. You know, I mean, don't sell some of those items that you have, especially if it's an item that you really loved using. Or if it's an item that you really love using and it created a lot of memories, I would really advise you that you just hold on to those items, because it could be so much fun in the future, like 10 years or even 20 years from now, when you have the item. For an example, like let's say a phone. You held on to that phone, and this phone that you had created, you had a lot of memories with it or something. Or fidget spinners or anything. Your very first fidget spinner or something. I would say, I mean, my advice is to hold on to some of those little petty items. Hold on to some of them until you turn 20 years older, because it could bring a delight in your mind. You know, it could bring so much delight in you. Like, so it's like a remembering, like what you used to do when you're young, you know, that type of thing. And not only that, some of those things can become classics. Well, not only that, you know, like certain items that are popular right now, like certain iPhones, or it could be certain electronic items, or just certain toys that are really popular right now, that are really in right now. I mean, they could be worth a lot of money in the coming years. And although it may take a little time, but they could be worth a lot of money. But it's not the money. It's not being worth a lot of money, but it's just to bring your delight in your mind, remembering those little specific items that you used to use. And like that, if you hold on to these things, your very first cell phone, for an example, like hold on to that phone, that way you can remember it, that way 20 years from now, you'll have so much delight in your mind, and you'll have so much delight in you. It'll bring the delight in your eyes when you see it, when you're holding your item that you had for 20 years, that type of thing. I would say, it's a nice thing, in you. It's a nice thing to do, like it can really help you. Make life fun to live, like by doing that. For me, I have several items that I held on to, like my cassettes, for that example, and they bring delight in me because my cassettes, I had them since I was 10 years old, and those are things that I loved. And it's a delight to have something that I had for 30 years, it's a delight. So that's advice number 6 that I give. Okay, advice number 7. Now, the next several advices that I would give to you teenagers would be involving, like, mostly, like, how we call it, life, or general life. It's like people, interacting with people, and the proper way to either interact or just the proper way to handle any sort of situations that you may come across of while how we call it, interacting with the world. Like my first advice is that, one big advice that I would give you is to never judge anybody or never judge anything or anybody by the cover. It's like the saying, don't judge the book by the cover. You never judge anything or anybody or anything by the cover. Never judge by the cover. And you know why I say that? I've been through it all the time, because I tell you, we come around a lot of this situation, like, a lot of people, like, may judge someone by the cover. You might come around someone who has a mad look on their face, or they just look ugly, whatever you might call it, or or like they're a specific nationality or whatever, or they're wearing a certain shirt, or they even live in a certain city, or anything like that. Well, anything. It could be anything, like whatever characteristic the thing is, or just whatever color or anything characteristic that any of the items or people have, including the outside of it, including the paint. That's an expression, including just the paint that's on the person or on the item, like, don't judge it by the cover. You don't want to judge because it's inaccurate. It's not accurate. Most of the time, it just isn't accurate. Like the things that you think, anything that you might think about something or somebody, most of the time it's inaccurate because it's not always the case. Like, for an example, you might come across someone who dresses dirty or like scummy or doesn't take a shower, or whatever. Or what else? Or they might look mean. Or they may not have teeth like I don't, like me. Things like that, for an example. Like some people, like especially youngsters, tend to do this. I'm not saying that you're gonna do that, but a lot of youngsters or people who seem to have it all, like I'm talking about, like who are seemingly gifted. Some of you might be gifted, but I'm not any way against that or anything. But anyway, some people might judge this person without teeth or dirty clothes or looks scummy or looks mean, whatever. But the thing is that, it's not always the case, though. They might look mean or they might dress scummy, but it may not be the case. It may not be exactly what you think. because that person might be scummy looking because he had just came home from work. You don't know. This person probably works in a construction site or whatever, and he's probably just barely coming home from work, and then, like, you just don't know. And he might look like he's poor, or he's driving a clunker or whatever, but it may not be, it's not always what you think, it's not always what it looks like, though, because that guy might be driving a clunker because that's his work car, you get it? Maybe, for all we know, that person coming home from work dressed all dirty that you thought was scummy or whatever, he might be coming home to a brand new car. He might be coming home without even realize that he actually has this brand new Camaro or Challenger or whatever. We don't know, and we don't even know, like, if he's even coming home to a really nice neighborhood or whatever. And still, not only that, we don't know, like, basing on the look that we gave, like, thinking that he was mean or whatever. Like, some of us who might have thought he's mean, but for all we know, he could be the nicest person on earth. He could be someone who very giving and very loving and very passionate, I tell you, it's like, for me, for an example, like, a lot of people think, like, a lot of people look at me, and I had a lot of people telling me that I look mean or I got a smile. A lot of people do that to me, but and then they don't realize what kind of person that I really am. A lot of you, like, love hearing my videos and stuff. I tell you, a lot of people think that I'm not smart, or they think that I didn't go to school, or that I'm a high school dropout, whatever. Some people may think that because I'm a Mexican, whatever. People, I have a lot of people who judge me like that. Not that I'm saying it's a problem, but I'm just putting this as an example. But the thing is, they have no idea what kind of person that I really am. Whatever you guys count me as, it's like, people have no idea that I'm really like one of those. So that's the example. And about the teeth, someone who doesn't have teeth, and they call that person, that guy, like, he looks scummed out or whatever. I'm not saying that I am. I'm not saying that I'm complaining about it. I'm just putting an example. But anyway, we have no idea. Like, some people will make fun of my teeth, for an example. I had people making fun of my teeth and telling me, you gotta go fix your freaking teeth. You look like a dork or whatever. People do that, but so the thing is that people don't realize, like, judging by the cover, they don't realize that what is actually in me, what's actually going on in me about my teeth, for that example. I had people making fun of my teeth, but they don't even know what is actually happening in me, though. They don't even know. People they're just there to make fun of my teeth or whatever, but they don't know that I'm actually worried about my teeth and I'm working on my teeth. They don't know that I'm actually gonna work on them, and they also don't even realize that it's gonna cost me mega dollars to fix the teeth. It's not something that's easy to do. So that's the example. So anybody who might be judged, judging by the cover, someone who has bad teeth, maybe you don't know if the person is actually working on it or even just aware of it. Some people are aware of it, and sadly, some people just don't have the money, and they want to fix them, but they don't have the money. We don't see that. I would say any of you should refrain. Any of you teenagers, an advice is refrain from judging by the cover. I would say refrain from it, or you should refrain only because it's inaccurate. I mean, I'm not saying that's because it's not nice. Well, it's not nice, but I mean, because it's inaccurate. I mean, it's not accurate. It's not going to be accurate. They're like, for you to judge. So, I mean, you should kind of like hold off on the judging by the cover, because we don't know what it really is, on that person. We don't know. I mean, okay, advice number 8 I could give. Then now, talking about people who make fun of my teeth or whatever, or who might talk crap about you or whatever, you are guaranteed, and just face it. Just face it. I mean, there's nothing much that anybody can do, but every one of you, I don't care who you are, every one of you is gonna come across someone who doesn't like you. You are gonna come across, and it's a reality. It's an advice that I give. Just be ready for it, and always look forward to it, and just be ready for it all the time. Just be ready to come across people who doesn't like you, or haters. And it can even be something about like something that you have. A lot of times these haters, it might be because of jealousy against you. And a lot of times it is jealousy on you. I mean, like, a lot of times, but I mean, a lot of times that's what the case is. But haters, I mean, you're gonna come across haters. Just guaranteed. You just be ready for it. I mean, just face the reality. I mean, you're gonna come around haters, regardless of how perfect you are, regardless of how perfect that everything looks for you. Like, for an example, like your job is good, or you have a nice car, whatever, you're still gonna come across haters. So just be wary about it, or just just accept it. In other words, just accept the fact that you're gonna come across haters. So, I mean, it's a reality. I mean, regardless of who you are, it doesn't matter whether you're rich, poor, cute, good looking, or whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're going to come across someone who doesn't like you one way or another. And it doesn't have to be because of jealousy. It could be something else, It could be just prejudice or something. Like I said, judging by the cover, Advice number 9 I could give you is that you never worry about what others think about you. And you got to remember one thing about this advice, number 9, is that it's impossible. I'm telling you right now, it's impossible to make everybody in the world happy all at the same time. And it's because, I could tell you one thing, it's impossible, because everybody has different likes and dislikes. So you could never ever worry about what others think about you. Or, because everybody have different likes and dislikes, and everybody is gonna have their own opinions, and like I say, different likes and dislikes. So, if you're out there trying to make your car sparkling clean, like for your crowd, like to see, I would say it's kind of pointless to bother with that. Like, if you're out going to Stater Brothers, if you're, for an example, washing your car, making it all sparkling clean, and you have this badass Camaro and you're making it sparkling clean, or and because you want to drive it around town to show it off, and you're hoping to get attention. Well, guess what? I would probably think that maybe 90%, based on my experience, maybe 95% of people who actually see you in that badass Camaro or whatever that you have, that any car that you have that you cleaned up really nicely, about 90% of people are not going to even notice you. So, I mean, there you have it. I mean, I'm telling you that's basing it on my experience. Almost nobody will ever care about what you have. Nobody will care about you in general. Yeah, the whole public really don't care about others in general. I'm telling you right now, that's the truth right there. The general public is not really don't care about you. They don't care. I mean, unless you're a cutie or something. But until then yeah. But I mean, like I said, everybody have different likes and dislikes, and I tell you, man. So let me talk about that. I mean, different likes and dislikes. A lot of people have different types that they like. You know, for example, some guys might really love blonde, her-haired girls. Others might like Mexican girls, and some people will only date blonde-haired girl, or this other person will only date Mexican girls or Filipino girls or anything else like that. And it can be same thing with cars. You know, cars. I mean, some people don't like Camaros, or some people have nothing about Camaros or two-door. Some people like let's say a Nissan or something, or some people are looking for a Nissan Maxima, or it could be someone looking for a Mustang, a totally different brand of car, or it could be someone looking into these little Honda Civics. It could be all that could be in that person's mind. So that's what I'm saying. Everybody's different. I mean, everybody have different likes and dislikes, you know, and they could be with phones or anything else, you know, So, I mean, like anything else. I mean, like everybody has different likes and dislikes. People, types of people, or even like lifestyles, you know, like if you have a specific lifestyle, I mean, it's like 90% of people in the world are not going to even care about your lifestyle. I mean, and then you know, like that's a good example. I mean, people don't care. I mean, for the most part, people don't care. I'm trying to, how do I put this? Everybody's different. Everybody has their own likes and dislikes, and just simply don't worry about what others think about you. You know, like you just be yourself. If you're like, let's say, getting a nice haircut because you're thinking the public is gonna like you, well, forget it. Just forget it. You just do it for yourself only. You just do it for yourself. If you like that type of haircut you like, then so be it. That's it. You know, that's all. You know, just do the things that you like to do. You know. So, I mean, don't worry about what others think, and that could even be like some crazy things that you might like doing, like if you like a crazy colored shirt or whatever. I mean, if it's something that you like, then so be it. You know, don't worry about what others think about you. You know, like, because, and then like I say, like everybody thinks differently, and everybody has their own likes and dislikes, and so you just have to be aware of it and just do everything for yourself. You know, just do the things for yourself rather than trying to impress the crowd, because maybe you might be lucky to get that 5% or 10% that might have actually worked for, like that person. But even then, a lot of times, even if you did get that girl that you wanted because of your car or whatever, chances are that girl probably not gonna. That's a new equation that you have to work on to see if that girl is gonna be any good or not. So just be yourself. You just do things for yourself rather than trying to make others happy. That you don't want to try to make others happy because it's impossible. That's impossible to make everybody happy. So I know this by experience. I'm telling you this by experience. So just do this for yourself. Just do it for yourself. And of course, make yourself. Do it for yourself, but also do it for to make a good example to the public too. Make a good example to the public, like just being you. Just be you. Make a good example to the public being you. Simple. That's it. Okay, advice number 10 that I can give you. So, it's all about being friendly. It's all about being good people for your It's all about keeping yourself being good people here. Number one, you gotta. One advice that I would really give is to keep yourself humble. Try to keep yourself humble. Don't try to show off. I would really advice, and it would be a really nice thing for you to just keep your cool on your cool job that you just got, or that badass car you just got, or that big old lottery you won, or whatever, anything that's really good, or anything that's good, like a high-paying job. Try to refrain from yourself from showing off. Just keep yourself humble. If you're living in a beach house, try to keep yourself humble about it. You could show that you live in a beach house or whatever, have a nice job, or you could say that you work in this job when it comes to needing to, but just wait till you need to. Until you need to show it first. Before, don't show it don't say it about your job unless you can't get away with it without showing what job you have, whatever. For an example, if you're making a vlog or something, and you're at your job, that's an example, whatever. Anyway, keep yourself humble. Just keep yourself humble. Just talk. Just be interested in people. Just be interested in the one that you're talking to, and don't try to keep yourself humble by keeping yourself interested in talking to others. And that involves. This is gonna involve being friendly. Being humble is involving being friendly. You gotta keep yourself friendly. Even if you don't smile, just say hi. You could say hi. Just. And that involves. This is gonna involve being friendly. Being humble is involving being friendly. You gotta keep yourself friendly. Even if you don't smile, just say hi. You could say hi. Just to show that you're not mean. That's it. Being friendly. You don't have to smile. You don't have to do that. But just be friendly. Just be friendly. Say hi. Just say hi, say what's up. It's a very appreciable thing for any of you to do, even for me. I'm telling you right now, from my experience, I really appreciate people, anybody who's gonna come up to me and say hi, or just even acknowledge that I'm there. And refrain refrain from just walking by people like if they're not there, you know. This example, refrain from doing this. Refrain from walking by without acknowledging that they're there. I mean, that's my advice. I mean, it's something that, it's something that's nice. It would be nice of you to do. I mean, like, it's up to you. I mean, that you guys take all of these advices or not, but it'd be really appreciable to the general public that you, like, let's say you're walking down the street, and then you look at that person, and then you just at least acknowledge that they're there. I mean, you just look at them. That's it. That's all. You just acknowledge that they're there. I mean, that's all you got to do. As far as being friendly, saying hi part is going on. I mean, just walk, and then you just look at them and just and maybe give a smile. I mean, just give a smile and then walk away. That's fine. I mean, that's one thing I could tell you, that it would be nice of you to do that to everybody. I mean, like, to not just walk by that person, especially in a tight area like a sidewalk or something. Just don't walk by without acknowledging that they're there. All you do is just look at them a little. All you got to do is glance at them, and that's it. It's all that matters. It's all I want. I mean, for me, that's all that I want. I mean, to make me think, to change my mind on what I think about that person, you know. Because for me, I might be in violation of judging people myself, but I mean, sometimes people that are walking on the sidewalks or walking in the mall or something, whatever, any place, and then they're, especially like celebrity type people, especially like these fancy looking people, like the ones that look like celebrities and they did their hair real nice or whatever, dressed up nice. I mean, like, I might find it offensive when people just walk by me like, and then even though my face is totally in front of them, when they're walking by me, and they still don't look at me, even when I look at them, you know, when they still don't at least glance at me. I mean, all I ask is just a glance. That's all I ask. I mean, that's it's a nice thing. It would be nice of you to do that. I mean, to at least glance. I mean, be humble and glance. And glancing at someone is being humble. I mean, instead of walking by them like not even acknowledging that they're there, or forgetting that there's people around you too, or there's someone near you. You know, you could forgetting that they're there too. I mean, not forgetting that people are there is a big thing. You know, being humble and being nice is an advice that I would give you youngsters. I mean, it'd be nice of you to do that. I mean, just be nice, you know, and be friendly, glance at passerbyers, or say hi. I mean, hi, or just, I mean, like, you could say hi, but and then, yeah, just say hi. Just say hi. I mean, and who cares what that person might. I mean, just be friendly and say hi. I mean, just say hi, you know. So that concludes for advice number 11. Okay, advice number 12. The shyness. Any of you who are shy, I think you should kind of like refrain from being shy. Stop, because I mean, being shy, I mean, it can really cause trouble in your life, because I mean, it's like, it can cause trouble for your emotional well-being from being too shy, because I mean, it's guaranteed, like, being too shy, it's gonna cause you to be bored in life, you know, because when you're too shy, like, I mean, you're gonna be stuck in your room, or you're gonna be stuck in that corner, you know, I mean, in your life, you know, I mean, I mean, I would advise you that, I mean, it's a good idea that I mean, it's good. It would be good for you emotionally to stop being shy and just get out and say hi, or I mean, just get out and do it and just face your fear. Sometimes you have to, you know. I mean, you gotta do that. You have to try doing that. I mean, don't be shy. I mean, it's like, you know, look at the case of this. Remember, Elliot Rogers? He had a problem with being too shy or something. I mean, I know that shyness had to do with why he went through, why he escalated to the point of him killing everybody, because shyness is what got to him, because he was never strong enough to ask a girl out on a date, you know, that type of thing. You know, you gotta be strong. You need to make yourself strong, you know. I mean, if you feel that, I mean, nobody's paying attention to you, and now you gotta open up, you know. You need to open up, you know. A lot of people had told me this before. You know, you gotta open up, you know. You gotta show your feelings, you know. You gotta open up, you know. If you're one that's shy, if you are, chances are maybe you're not. I mean, that's great if you're not. I mean, but just open up. If you're one of those that's really shy, open up to the world. Just gotta open up. I mean, if it's something that you really want, like a girl, for an example, or if you really like this girl, just say hi to her or whatever. Just talk to her about anything, you know, whatever. I mean, just talk, just open up, you know, just get out of your shyness, you know. You need to get out of the shyness, you know. And then you'd be surprised, you know. I mean, you just never know. I mean, it's happened. I know I've seen it happen so many times with some of people. I mean, like for some people who actually came up to the girl and started talking to her or whatever, and then next thing you know, that they became girlfriends, you know, because you just never know. Like I said about judging people by the cover, I mean, just talk to anybody who you feel interested to talk to, but just be sure you're in a good mood just make sure that you're in a good mood for this, though. I mean, just kind of like step out of shyness, you know. You need to get out of your shyness, you know. Get out, I mean, get out of your shyness, you know. And that's a really good advice that I could give for those of you who are. I mean, get out of it right now. I mean, get out of it right now, or I mean, go, like when you go to a store, or anything. I mean, when you have a question, I mean, you just talk to anybody. Like, go to anybody, talk to somebody about any question that you have about life or anything, you know. You just go up to anybody and just start talking, you know. I do that here and there now, and I did not used to do that before. I was way too shy to do that. But I mean, interacting with people, like, is very healthy emotionally, very, very healthy. But being too shy, it's kind of unhealthy to be too shy, because you're not interacting with people, and your emotions are not gonna get its exercise if you're too shy, and if you're always always being too afraid of being interactive with anybody because of being too shy. That's unhealthy for you, emotionally. That's an unhealthy thing to do emotionally, you know. So that was advice number 12. Okay, the next couple of advices advices that I could give you teenagers, it has to do with the love of your life. Any of you who gets the love of your life, and just loved ones in general. I mean, a big advice I could give you, a very important. This is a very important advice I can give you. Any girlfriends that you have, any girlfriends or boyfriends you might get, like any significant other that you might come across of, be sure just be sure, very important, be sure that that person is the person for you, or be sure you get to know the person really, really, really good before you commit to that person, before you marriage. Before you marry that person, make sure you get to know that person really, really good first. And be sure this person is just the right one for you, or be sure that this is the person for you before you make that massive commitment to marriage. Because if you don't, wow, I mean, it's gonna be hell. I mean, it can be hell. But for all we know, I mean, some of us might know someone for only 2 months, and all of a sudden, we could feel it, that it's the right person already. I mean, yeah, if it's the case for you, then yeah. I mean, if you knew the person only 1 month, but you feel that this person is just the right one for you because he has the same exact habits or the same exact important things that you like in a person, whatever. Like, it could be things like that. Why? Or it could be like a person who has the same quality or same flaws as you, for example, like ears or whatever. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, so yeah, I mean, go ahead. I mean, like, you can get married if you feel if it works for you after only a month. Yeah, then so yeah. But for the most part, I would say if you met this person out of nowhere and you begin liking each other, make sure you get to know the person really, really good, and make sure that this person is the one for you before you make that massive commitment. And it's not just marriage that you want to commit to for the right person. It's also like sharing your life in general, you know, like passing out your numbers or passing out all of your private information or even pictures, whatever. I mean, passing out pictures, phone numbers, or even like putting a bank account together. I mean, things like that, you know, like those are the other things besides marriage, you know, like that. Before you do all that, make sure that this person is the one for you, that you see yourself dating or being with for the rest of your life. Just be sure that that person is the one for you before you make that massive commitment. Because if you make a massive commitment, like joining in your bank account or whatever, and then 2 weeks later or like a month later you find out that he has a secret for drugs or whatever, or it's a secret that's really bad, I mean, then you're shit out of luck. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of hell. It's gonna create a lot of hell for you, I tell you. I mean, yeah. So okay, advice number 14 I could give you. Well, if you're gonna have a significant other, or for loved ones, your family members, your mom, your dad, I would make sure, one big advice I could give you is, how we call it, an advice that I can give you is, don't ever take your loved one for granted. It could be your wife. I mean, you're a very loving wife. You're a very loving husband. I mean, someone, especially anyone who's a big part of your life, or anyone who's been really helpful to you in life, like your mom, your dad, your mom, like your brother. Never take that person for granted. Never take a loved one for granted, and especially your kids. Don't ever take your kids for granted, and always be nice to your kids. Always be reasonable to your kids, or just never take any of your loved ones for granted, because you just never know. I mean, you just never know. I mean, you just never know any unfortunate thing. You know, I hate to bring it up, but you just never know. I mean, it's like, and I always be loving. Always give that hug to your loved one. You know, just say I love you, or always give a hug, or just give a nice what do you call it, hug, you know, like to your loved ones every now and then, you know, because I mean, it's really advisable that you just always don't ever take your loved one for granted, because you just never know. I mean, your mom, especially like your mom and your dad. So like your mom and your dad might be helpful, you know, like, I mean, your mom, your dad, like all the years, you know, it can actually even be emotional to me right now. I mean, it's like my mom, you know, like, yeah, so you can see it. You can see that I'm getting kind of emotional here, you know. But, you know, like my kids, my wife, you know, like, yeah, sorry, I'm feeling kind of emotional there. You know, like, because you never know, you know, like, my mom, or yeah, I had to stop the video for a little bit because I was getting kind of like emotional about this. But anyway, you know, like how I call it, you just never know, you know, like the last day can happen, you know. Yeah, so, you know, like I say, you know, sorry for this emotional thing, but I mean, but it's true, you know, like, I mean, you just never know. I mean, like, so that's why you don't want to take your loved one for granted, you know, your kids, your wife, you know, your mom, your dad, you know, like, like if we're all familiarized with the time when, like the shooting in Connecticut, you know, in particular, you know, like where some youngster, like a youngster, he went into a classroom and shot down all the 20 kids that were there. If you remember that? See, I mean, you just never know, man. You just never know. I mean, and be nice to your, be nice to people who are nice to you, you know. Always, you know, always be nice to people who are nice to you, you know, who are good to you. Because you know, that person, you know, like someday that person is not gonna be there. I mean, yeah, but you know what, like sometimes, you know, like I feel, you know, sometimes like people are mean to me, certain people, and then, you know, and I'm good, like I'm being nice, but I mean, it's like, I mean, what can I say? I mean, even though like people are mean to me, or Facebook, or, you know, like the certain people who make fun of my teeth or judge me or whatever, I mean, judge me for my look, being Mexican or whatever. I mean, even though I may get hurt, you know, even though it may hurt me, my feelings, I'm still gonna be nice to them, you know. I mean, I'm not gonna do any harm still. I mean, it's never in my intent to ever do any harm to, I mean, I don't believe in revenge, you know. For me, I don't believe in getting revenge, you know. And it's not only people to be nice to, it's your items as well that you should be nice to. Because some of these items that you might have, especially sentimental items that you might have, I mean, it could feel like a person, you know. Some of these items can feel like a person. Like your car, for an example. It could be like your car can feel like a person sometimes. So be nice to your car, or be nice to your items, your phone, or be nice to your stuff too. But that includes stuff that belong to other people. Like if someone like offended you one day, you don't want to go out there and like breaking their Xbox or breaking their phone because they did that to you. I mean, you don't want to go to someone's phone and break their screen because they broke the screen of your phone. You don't want to do that because it's like I feel like I'm hurting a person. I think of the phone as being a person. The phone did not do anything to you. I mean, it belongs to the person, but that phone did not do anything to you. So I mean, I feel like I would say don't be nice to other people's stuff, even though it belongs to someone who really offended you. That includes cars or anything else, anything else. Be nice to stuff, because the items themselves did not do anything to you. I mean, they didn't do anything to you. I mean, it's the person that you should talk to, or you should talk to the person instead of creating any harm, I mean, that goes, that's for advice number 14. That is, don't ever take loved ones for granted, and don't even take some of your items for granted either. I mean, because you just never know. But when it comes to items, like you want items to break by themselves rather than you want to accidentally break your items instead of doing it on purpose. Like for the phone, for an example, you want to accidentally break the screen on the phone rather than doing it on purpose, because you hate your phone or something, because you don't want to do something to anything if they didn't do anything to you. So that was advice number 14. Now, for my final advice to you teenagers, what I could say would be a nice thing. I mean, this is kind of an important thing I could give you, an important advice that I can give you, besides my last emotional one. Well, anyway, this advice that I could give you is you gotta make yourselves a good memory. Like, you gotta, the best kind of days are the kinds that you make yourself, meaning that you keep yourself positive, or you keep yourself thinking positive. Like in the case of anxiety and depression, you keep yourself positive, you keep thinking positively, about when it comes to, when I'm talking about making a good memory, it's just as simple as doing your hobbies, basically, or doing the hobbies that you love doing right now. Any hobby you love doing it, and perhaps making a video or something of it, or you just vlog, whatever, do a hobby that you love to do, like even playing your games, your video games, or flying your drones, your drones, or just hobby like riding your bike, or just make a good memory out of it. That's a very important thing. Make a good memory out of your hobbies, or out of your life in general. Make a good memory, when you visit somebody, or just make a good memory out of it. In life, make it the best memory out of it, because riding the bike in a nice area or something, or whatever, your hobbies, you do it often, do the hobbies often, and that way it's something that you can remember. And then years down the line, then you'll have something to remember, and then you'll say to, oh man, I remember I used to do that, man. I remember I used to love to ride that bike in that trail, or I used to love to ride that bike in the, I remember that bike I remember that was a cool bike, or that type of thing. Or, I mean, that drone, I remember that drone that I used to fly, and I remember like the first time I flew it and I crashed into a neighbor's yard and the dog ate it, or to make a good memory. Well, don't do it on purpose now. But anyway, well, just make a good memory out of it, you know, make a good memory out of everything, you know, in life. And just to remember, I mean, just, you know, like for the case of, you know, hobbies, try to find something that's good about the hobby. I mean, or just think about the fun things that are about that hobby. For my case, for the example of the bike, you know, like riding in a nice area or visiting my old neighborhoods, and do it often. Do these hobbies often. That way, it's a way of making a good memory. So that way, 10 years, 20 years down the line, you'll have something fun to remember. You'll have something fun to talk about, you know. And that includes, I mean, your families or the day that, like, make a good summer. The summer's coming up, so make the best out of your summer as possible. Like, try to keep from thinking negatively. Like, if you're one who has depression or anxiety, don't let that get in your way. I mean, don't think negatively. Instead, make a good memory. Like I always say, make yourself go out and do a hobby, you know. Make yourself do something fun, you know. And put a good memory, you gotta make a good memory out of all this. Make a good memory, you know. I mean, that's a big advice. And you guys have plenty of time to do that, and it's never too late to do this either. I mean, it's never too late. And then, you know, like, and the other part of this advice, for my final advice, the other part of it is videotaping. I think it's a good idea that you make videos, that you make enough videos. You make enough videos, and let me tell you one thing. I'll give you this part of advice. It's never, ever too late. It's never too late to make videos of any kind. And you gotta remember one thing too, that I mean, no video is ever boring in the future. Any video you make right now of anything, regardless of how boring it looks to you, no video is ever boring in the coming years to come. Any video you make, it will become more interesting as years and years come by. So I'm telling you right now, it's never too late to make any video tape memories right now. It's never too late to go out in the Stater Brothers market and make a video on the parking lot of the cars and parking lot and the people walking in the sidewalk. It's never too late to do that. It's never too late to make a video driving your car on the freeway. Never too late. Make a good memory. And these videotapes later on in your life, you will be able to review it, and then that's where your good memories will show up even more vividly. You know, your memory, and this will be grand for your emotions to make a good memory out of this. Your videotapes. So hold on to your videotapes or your memories, and hold on to your pictures, and just, like I say, you know, make a good memory out of everything you do. Make sure that everything you make it good. You make your day good. I mean, you know, you just make it positive. You have to make yourself positive. Think positive, you know, throughout your entire life, and then those are the things that you're gonna remember throughout your rest of your life, and then you'll be so happy to talk about that in your coming years, and that'll actually help you health-wise. It'll help you emotionally, and it's very healthy to do all this too. So I tell you, I mean, so that was my final advice, number 15. that I can give you, and I hope you really liked this video, because I mean, this really good advice that I can give you teenagers. I mean, this was good in the 80s. I mean, advice in the 80s, but basically the first advice of learning to do everything manually, I mean, was the big one, though, because you have to know how to do everything manually in case you don't have internet for a day like in the Philippines. When I was visiting Philippines, I didn't have internet for 2 weeks, so I had to do everything manually, you know, like the maps. But I mean, whatever. I mean, so this is gonna conclude the video. So I mean, I hope you liked this video. So I mean, you guys can chime in on what else advice that you guys can give these teenagers, all of you who lived in the 80s decade. But this video is just talking about mostly life in general, like interacting with people mostly. I mean, that's about it. Like how to interact with people and what to expect. So I would say this is where I could say goodbye, and I hope to see you on my next video, on any next video I make. Okay, I'll see you later. So I'm gonna go get playing with my drone now. I'm gonna play with this battle shark. Okay.